Stop for a moment. Breathe. Because something shifted in the spirit realm, and it's about you. Not the person next to you. Not the millions scrolling past this message. You. If your heart just tightened a little, if something inside you whispered, "This feels personal," that is not coincidence. You were guided here. You were nudged here. And the reason will become clear before this message ends. But first, you need to understand what just happened behind the scenes of your life. There was a movement you could not see. A decision made beyond your physical eyes. A realignment in a realm you don't control but deeply influence. And ever since that shift occurred, things around you have felt different. Subtle, but undeniable. Doors that once resisted you are trembling. People who misunderstood you are acting strange. Old patterns are breaking. You thought it was random. It wasn't. Something shifted in the spirit realm, and it's about you. You've been feeling it, haven't you? That strange mixture of exhaustion and anticipation. Like you're tired of fighting, but you also know something bigger is forming. You've cried in silence. You've smiled when you felt like collapsing. You've walked through rooms where you felt invisible. You've been misunderstood by people who only saw your surface and never your sacrifice. And yet you didn't quit. You bent, but you didn't break. You questioned, but you didn't walk away. That matters more than you realize. Because while you were fighting battles nobody applauded, heaven was observing. While you were doubting your worth, destiny was recalculating your trajectory. And while you thought you were stuck, you were actually being positioned. There's something you need to hear clearly. Your isolation was intentional. Not to punish you, to prepare you. When people drifted away, when connections suddenly dissolved, when invitations stopped coming, you thought you were losing favor. But separation is often a sign of elevation. You can't carry everyone into the next level. And deep down, you felt it. You felt that some relationships were expiring. It hurt. Of course it hurt. You're human. But what felt like rejection was actually protection. You kept asking, why is this so hard? And the answer didn't come. At least not then, but it's coming now. Something shifted because you passed a test you didn't even know you were in. The test of character when no one was watching. The test of integrity when compromise would have been easier. The test of faith when silence was the only response you got from above. You thought the silence meant abandonment. It didn't. It meant assessment. You were being weighed, not judged. Weighed for capacity. Could you handle what you've been praying for? Could you carry the influence you secretly desire? Could you survive the attention, the responsibility, the expansion? You thought the delay was denial. But the delay was development. You know what's almost funny? You blamed yourself for the closed doors. You said, maybe I'm not good enough. Meanwhile, the door wasn't locked because you were unworthy. It was locked because what's coming requires a different entrance altogether. Heaven was probably looking at you like, relax, I'm working. And you were over there trying to kick the door down. If only you could see the blueprint being redrawn. And here's the part that might surprise you. The warfare increased because your value increased. The confusion intensified because clarity was close. The pressure mounted because promotion was pending. There is always resistance before release. Always turbulence before altitude. You thought you were under attack because you were weak. But attacks only escalate when you're a threat. You are a threat to mediocrity. A threat to stagnation. A threat to every narrative that tried to define you by your lowest moment. And that is why something shifted. Because you didn't surrender your core identity. You've been misunderstood most of your life, haven't you? People saw your quietness as weakness. Your kindness as naivety. your patience as passivity. But they didn't see the strength it took for you not to retaliate. They didn't see the discipline it took to hold your tongue. They didn't see the restraint it took not to prove yourself. They didn't see the nights you sat alone, questioning if you were too different, too intense, too deep for this world. But that difference, that depth, that intensity, it is not a flaw, it is a calling. And right now, as you're listening, something inside you is stirring. A recognition, a knowing, because you've always felt like there was more to you, more than your environment allowed, more than your current circumstances reflect, more than people assumed. You've always sensed that your story would not end in ordinary chapters. Here's what you didn't know: the shift happened when you chose growth over bitterness. That moment you decided not to become cold. That moment you forgave someone who never apologized. That moment you got up again when nobody clapped. That's when the spiritual atmosphere around you adjusted. You didn't hear the sound of it, but the realm of possibilities did. Now, let's talk about the loneliness, because you've carried that quietly. The kind of loneliness that isn't about being physically alone. It's about feeling unseen, unheard. Like you're speaking a language nobody around you understands. You've felt like the odd one out. Like you don't fully belong in the spaces you're in. And sometimes you wondered if something was wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to build differently. When you felt delayed, it wasn't because you were behind. It was because your path doesn't follow common timelines. Your journey requires depth before display, substance before spotlight, character before crown. You see, breakthrough without preparation becomes burden. And you were being fortified. You remember that season when everything seemed to collapse at once. Finances strained, relationships fractured, motivation drained. You thought, this can't all be coincidence. You were right. It wasn't coincidence. It was compression, and compression produces diamonds. You cried more in that season than you'd like to admit. Maybe even ugly cried. It's okay. Heaven saw it. And honestly, if tears were currency, you'd already be spiritually wealthy. But those tears were cleansing something deeper. They were washing away versions of you that could not enter the next chapter. Here's the shift in perspective that will change everything. Your pain was not a punishment. It was a rehearsal. Everything that hurt you was training you. The betrayal taught discernment. The delay taught endurance. The rejection taught self-definition. The silence taught inner listening. You were not being broken. You were being built. And this is where the emotional shift happens. Because when you look back now, you're starting to see patterns. Moments that felt random are lining up like puzzle pieces. The job you didn't get led you to a skill you wouldn't have learned. The person who left made space for clarity you desperately needed. The failure redirected you from a path that would have drained you. You thought you were losing. You were being redirected. Isn't it interesting how the very things you resented are now the things that strengthened you? You didn't notice it happening. Growth rarely announces itself, but it was happening in the dark, in the quiet, in the unseen hours. Something shifted because you're no longer who you were a year ago. You're more aware, more intuitive, more anchored. You don't react the same way. You don't chase the same validation. You don't beg for the same acceptance. That internal shift triggered an external one. And now the realm that once resisted you is responding differently. You might have noticed subtle confirmations lately. Repeated signs, unexpected encouragement, random opportunities. A strange sense of calm before something big. That's not imagination. That's alignment. You were chosen for refinement, not comfort. And refinement requires fire. But you survived the fire. You walked through it without becoming smoke. There were days you wanted to disappear. Days you felt tired of being strong. Tired of being the resilient one. Tired of carrying emotional weight for everyone else. You wondered, when is it my turn? That question echoed in your heart more than once. It's your turn now, not because you demanded it, but because you endured. Something shifted because you stopped trying to prove yourself. You stopped performing. You started healing. You started choosing peace over chaos. You started protecting your energy. And when you protect your energy, the spirit realm notices. You are not random. Your timing is not random. This message is not random. Even the fact that you're still listening means something in you knows this is connected. Let me tell you what's about to happen. Though I won't reveal it all at once. There is an opening forming, but it won't look like what you expected. It won't arrive wrapped in the packaging you imagined. At first, it may even look small, insignificant, but it will carry unusual weight. Don't dismiss it, because the shift was not loud. It was precise. You are stepping into a season where clarity replaces confusion, where confidence replaces comparison, where alignment replaces striving. But before that fully manifests, there will be one final moment of doubt. One last whisper that says, what if nothing changes? That whisper is not truth. It is residue. You have outgrown your old limitations. And here's something that might make you smile. All those times you thought you were unlucky, heaven was probably adjusting the schedule. All those delays you cursed, they were protecting you from premature exposure. You were never forgotten. You were being formatted for expansion. Now feel this deeply. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are not invisible. You are being elevated. Say it internally. I am being elevated. Even if you don't fully believe it yet. Especially if you don't fully believe it yet. The shift in the spirit realm marked the end of a cycle. The cycle of giving without reciprocity. The cycle of shrinking to make others comfortable. The cycle of doubting your intuition. That cycle is closing. And as it closes, something else opens. You will start noticing that your presence affects rooms differently. That your words carry weight. That your decisions create ripple effects. That your boundaries are respected. This is not ego. This is alignment. You were separated for purpose. Hidden for a reason. Strengthened in secret. And now, activation is beginning. There is a breakthrough with your name on it. Not because you demanded it, but because you matured into it. Everything you survived was qualifying you. The shift happened because you are ready. Ready to handle abundance without losing humility. Ready to influence without losing authenticity. Ready to rise without forgetting the ground you came from. You are not who you were. And that is the miracle. In the coming days, pay attention to what feels effortless. That's where grace is flowing. Pay attention to what drains you. That's what you're being released from. Trust the subtle nudges. Trust the quiet confidence growing inside you. You've been waiting for a sign. This is it. Something shifted in the spirit realm, and it's about you. Your story is not ending in struggle. It is transitioning into strength, not surface level strength. Deep-rooted, unshakable, undeniable strength. And when the breakthrough fully arrives, you will look back at this moment and realize this was the activation point. You were guided here for a reason. You were meant to hear this now, not later. The timing is precise. Stand tall internally. Even if externally nothing has changed yet. The shift has already occurred. You are stepping into visibility, into clarity, into expansion. And as you do, remember this, you were never overlooked. You were being prepared. If this message resonated, if you felt that internal confirmation, comment, it shifted for me. Declare it. seal it, and stay connected. Because what's coming next will build on what has already begun. Something shifted in the spirit realm. And it was about you.